Hey there, it's Laurel Beard here. It's been a long time since I've made a video. I moved, I'm in Connecticut, and this is my very first video I made in Connecticut in my new craft room. My mom is still here. She hasn't gone home yet since we moved here, so I haven't completely lost my mind. But she'll be leaving probably by the time this video airs, so thoughts are appreciated. So this card that I'm making in today's video is for the Essentials by Ellen Pin Sites Challenge. Each month, on the third Thursday of each month, we host a Pin Sites Challenge, which is a challenge that uses a Pinterest-inspired photo that I choose myself. And all you have to do is make something inspired by the Pinterest board using any Essential by Ellen product that you may have. So this is the inspirational piece I chose for this month, and this is the card that I'm going to be making in the video, and I'm going to be using some new products from the latest Essentials by Ellen release. It's the late summer release, and we've already had a blog hop, lots of fun and prizes, so I hope you checked it out. So how I usually create using these or for these Pinterest inspired challenges is I keep my iPad off to the side with the picture up of the photo inspiration so I can refer to it, reference it while I'm creating. I usually start with a clean slate. I never know what I'm going to do until I just start, going. I don't sketch or do anything like that ahead of time. And most of the time, all my projects start with just some white cardstock. So it's fun to see how just some plain white paper just warps into something so much fun. So this is the Silver Linings die set. I love the sun rays, the clouds, the rain, the lightning bolts. But I'm going to take the two sun rays. I went ahead and ran them through my die cutting machine off camera, and I cut them out twice. And I'm going to mount them together to form one like square shaped sun ray. So I've gone ahead and cut a piece of pink cardstock, and you're not going to see it. I just needed like a backing to mount these two, and then I'm going to mount these together. I'm using some liquid glue because using liquid glue I can move it around. See how I need to make sure I line up everything. So that's why I'm choosing liquid glue for this project here. So once I mount it up, I got this cute little sun ray square. And that's going to be the base, the focal point of the card. It's going to be a very simple card. I'm going to incorporate a lot of those pinks and those browns. There's like a soft brown. I'm going to incorporate all those colors from the inspirational piece. So I'm going to use some distress inks here to blend on some color. I've got abandoned coral and worn lipstick. And then I'm going to pull in some tea dye as well. I've got a piece of scratch paper off to the side because I want a really light hand. So I'm kind of almost removing all of the ink on that copy paper. And then I'm just going in with a light hand in the center. I'm going to add some of that abandoned coral. Then I'm going to switch over to the worn lipstick. I should wash these. Now these little sponges that go on the Ranger blending tools are washable, so you can reuse them. I just am lazy and never do. So I'm just dabbing off any of that excess ink before I take it to my ink pad there. So now I'm going on and applying some worn lipstick. You can see I'm still dabbing off the color onto that scratch paper, and then I'm working off the paper on, and that's going to avoid those blending tool marks that you may get if you don't do that. And then I'm going to go in with the tea dye here and just very light-handed kind of fill in some of that white space I left and incorporate that tea dye, that cream color almost that I see in the inspirational piece there. And I'm just going to keep adding the color until I am satisfied with how this looks. And I love the sun ray lines just blasting through there. I think it's so much fun. And then it's distressing, so you know me, I'm going to add some water droplets here. So I just squirt some water in my hand and then flick it down onto the paper. I know there's tools and stuff that you can use. You can use a paintbrush, but I just use my fingers. And after I let it sit, I think I let it sit for about 20-30 seconds, I dabbed it up with a cloth, and you're left with those water droplets, and I think it's so cool. Now this is another new stamp set called Bear Wear, and I'm going to use the little bunny and the flowers here. This is so cute. It also has a coordinating die set to go along with it. So I'm just going to use those two images because there are some florals in that inspirational piece, and I just think that little bunny is adorable. I'm going to stamp that with some white pigment ink. It's unicorn white pigment ink from Hero Arts, and because it's pigment ink, it stays wet longer, so I can go ahead and heat emboss that. I'm using some super fine white embossing powder here from Hero Arts as well, so I'm just going to flick that on. Tap off any of the excess, funnel the rest of the embossing powder back into the bottle. I like that those are the wide mouth bottles. And then I'll heat set that with my tool here. And then I've got a nice white embossed outline, which you cannot see. Oh, I'm using Bristol paper. I'm using Julie's favorite Bristol paper from the Essentials by Ellen line because I'm using my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers here. I just pulled out all the different pinks that I saw, and then I'm going to go through and just select 3 or 4 of them to color these images here. So again, I'm keeping up with the pink theme from the inspirational photo. So these markers, the key to these markers, honest to God, is the paper. Make sure you're using good paper. I found Bristol works fantastic. And I also found any 90-pound weight watercolored paper works. I don't know why the weight is, but when I first got these markers, I hated them. They would not blend. It was horrible. So I actually sold them off on a Facebook group to a girl named Chris Dayton. And she privately messaged me and said, hey, I want you to try them again because they're fantastic, but change your paper. So I changed my paper, and then I'm like, holy crap, that was what was wrong. It wasn't the pens, it was the paper. So the Bristol is what I'm using here. Strathmore also makes a Bristol. And again, 90 pound no-name brand. I've got no-name 90 pound that I grabbed from, Michael's or something. It worked great too. But other papers, watercolored papers that I've used, for instance, the Ranger Distress watercolor cardstock, it would not blend for me. For whatever reason, some people have success with blending with that cardstock. I didn't. I don't know why. I think that's a fantastic watercolored cardstock. I use it for all my other mediums. I just don't use it for the zigs. So for the zigs, Bristol, 90 pound. That seems to be key for me. So all I am is just taking the tips, and I added the color, and then I'm just taking a water brush pen. You can always use your paintbrush and some water. You could also blend with like a Wink of Stella or the Spectrum Noir glitter pens. Anything wet to blend out the color. Very simple. I'm just making sure that my paintbrush, that some kind of water touches the marker where I put it down. Now you don't even have to use marker. You can blend with just the zigs themselves if you want to, but I wanted a soft look. So I'm using pale pink, light carmine, pink, and light pink are the 4 color pinks I chose for these images here. And I set it aside, let it dry for a little bit, and then I'm going to take the coordinating dies. Now with these, you just bend them back and forth to break them apart. You don't need any wire snipper thingies. I know. So I'll go ahead and adhere that down with some little sticky tape there, run it through my die cutting machine, and then I've got my 2 little die cut guys here. All right, this is a super cute sentiment set also from the new Essentials by Ellen release. It's got a lot of great uniformed, or not uniform, but a lot of everyday sentiments that you can incorporate into the different stamps from this release and also into whatever you have in your collection. They're just great sentiments. I'm going to stamp it twice because I wasn't sure if I was going to use a white base or if I was going to color the cardstock. You'll see what I mean in a minute. I chose to use the Hero Arts charcoal ink because I didn't want a harsh black line because these are such soft colors. So here I'm going in with some of that tea dye and just lightly coloring that strip there. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut both strips down. So it will leave me with a white strip and a strip that I colored with that tea dye distress ink. I'm going to end up going with the tea dye distress ink, by the way. Spoiler alert. All right, so I went ahead and cut out little double-sided tape there and mounted it on the back of my little guys here so they'll be popped up off the panel here. And then I'm just going to secure them onto that little sunburst square there that we created. Now it's time to add the sentiment here. We're almost done. So you can see my process and how I work. I just held them up and picked the one I like the best. Again, I'm using that multi-matte, I usually use multi-matte medium, but again, I just moved, so I haven't really found everything yet. So I'm using this mono liquid adhesive. And then we're almost done, we're almost done, we're almost done. So I'm going to take this little panel here and I'm going to apply that down to a white square that I cut just a little bit bigger than the little sunburst panel there. And then I'm going to mount this down to a white card base as well. I just thought it tied into the inspirational piece just nicely. Again, using that liquid glue because I can't find my regular glue, my glue gliders yet. All right, so I'll obviously be trimming the card base down to fit because that looks just, silly. All right, but before we do that, I wanted to add a heart. So I've got this O'Frap stamp and die set also from Essentials by Ellen. I'm going to grab the heart die out of there. I'm going to take a pink marker and just add some of that Zig Clean Color Real Brush marker and blend it with the water. You see how effortless that was because of the paper. And then I will take my little heart, set it right over that color, and run that through my die cutting machine, and then I'll have a cute little heart. Get it, adhere that down. I'm channeling my Julie here by using the tweezers. She's an expert with the tweezers. I stink with the tweezers. Stinky, stinky, stinky. But she's awesome. So I've got my little heart there, and then I'm going to trim my panel down so that card does not look so crazy. And then we are like almost done. Decided to go around the edges with the tea dye distress ink. It was a little too white for me, so I wanted to add a little bit of color, but I didn't go overboard. So I'm putting a lot on the edges, and then I'll go in and blend a little bit of that ink around over onto the white base, just a little bit. And I swear we're almost done. I keep saying that, don't I? I keep saying we're almost done, we're almost done. Here I am, still talking. There's only 36 more seconds left of this video, so I've got to be almost done, right? So again, I'm working off my paper on. I don't want any harsh lines. And then I did put on a layer of the Spectrum Noir glitter. I guess I didn't get that on video. Then I'm going to go over the top of that with some glossy accents to trap in that glitter. Then it leaves me with this cool sparkly heart. And I hope you can see how I picked it up from that inspiration photo. But anything that inspires you, it could be the florals, it could be the colors, it could be the patterns, it's whatever floats your boat, you know? So thanks so much for joining me today for my first video here in Connecticut. And play along at the Pin Sites Challenge. I'll be sure to link it below. All the supplies I used are linked below in the YouTube description, also on my blog where I have some more pictures and information. And play along. You have 10 days to play along in the Pin Sites Challenge, and all you have to do is have any kind of Essentials by Ellen product, and you can play, and you could win a prize. So be sure to check out the links below, and I'll catch you next time.